Welcome to Threads of Enlightenment, a podcast devoted to helping you overcome challenges in your life that prevent you from becoming the best version of yourself. Each episode features interviews with people from all walks of life about their journey of self-development and the principles they utilize to overcome their fears to achieve their desired outcome. Ready to be enlightened? Here's your host, Ken Primus.
Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment. As usual, I like to honor our guests because I know they're coming with a couple of things I deem very expensive, their time. 24 hours has been offered to all of us. And so I want to thank Jennifer for coming and spending some of this 24 hours, if you will, because once it's spent, it is spent. It is precious. Invite those that are listening to us to learn the value of time. The other is the journey. The journey is a powerful creator. It has created Jennifer that is before us. And we want to honor her for coming and sharing both of these precious commodity with us. Jennifer, welcome to Threads of Enlightenment.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, everyone. Glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to meet you as well. I usually ask everyone this question, gives them a chance to first introduce themselves, and then you tell us, answer the question. The question is this: how do you serve mankind?
I think I serve mankind by helping people identify those limiting beliefs and those things those stories that they are always constantly telling themselves that they cannot do something, and start taking action to prove themselves that they actually can, because we are often thinking about all the things that we cannot do, all the things that we are afraid to fail or afraid that others will see us fail. I think when we start taking action, we start to notice that we have more power than we give ourselves credit for. Those small actions that we can start taking, when we push ourselves to take those, we start to really believe in our capabilities, and that comfort zone start expanding. So just identifying those limiting beliefs and those stories that you are constantly telling you, and then start kind of challenge those stories, really can make a whole lot of difference in what actions you take after.
Yeah, there's a principle that Jesus mentioned in the Bible, and he says, all things are possible to him who believes. So the problem is not that we are not capable. The problem is that our belief in self and what we can achieve. Our custom here is to go back into the beginnings of our beginnings, the first place that we reside, if you will, and that is the family. The family unit, we learn a couple of things. We learn how to communicate, we learn behavior, we learn all kinds of wonderful things. They call it the modus operandus, if you will, the way by which we operate as we're moving through life. What was your family unit like?
Well, I grew up in Venezuela, so I'm originally from Venezuela. My family unit was actually very, very together, I will say I was very safe. For my whole life, for growing up, I always felt very safe. But I think part of what made me feel a little bit too constrained, but I didn't take chances growing up, because I was always in such a safe environment. And that was one of the things that growing up, I started feeling like it was constraining me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love how you framed it. And I tell people that trauma, if you will, this can be as benign as something as you explain, and it can be on the other side as well. But the trauma is basically a situation that the individual interpreted. However, that young individual interpret that time, it can cause a degree of trauma, which will guide how they perceive and begin to think and walk and talk and so forth. So here you are, we're in Annam, Guyanese. I know where your location is. And so here you are, you grew up in a safe family. And I know the importance of family, being a Caribbean, West Indian, South America type individual. And how did that, besides the fact that you thought that you wanted to take some more chances, how did that affect you being isolated, if you will? How did you relate to your friends and outside of the family?
Yes, I think something you say about trauma is that sometimes we are the ones that we don't notice, but growing up, the stories we tell ourselves sometimes create that kind of trauma. Like growing up, I have an older sister and a younger brother. And growing up, for me, like the story I will tell myself was like, oh, my older sister is the outgoing, the one that is popular and have a lot of friends and is always going out. And my brother is the funny one, the one that is athletic. So those stories really created like a separation. And for me, it was like, oh, I'm the one that is more the quiet one, the one that is always studying, the one that doesn't go out. And I created those identities by myself. It was not like someone told me,
Yeah.
but I created those identities, and I started acting and taking actions in a way that like fell with that script.
Yeah.
Or if I'm the studious ones, if I'm the academic one, if I'm the one that is quiet, that's the way I have to act
Yeah.
always, right? Kind of like those constraints that you create yourself
Mhm.
to yourself in your mind, they uh, they kind of like block you from taking any other different path, even
Yes.
if is something that you want to try, but that's not your identity, right? So I was very, as you say, isolated in the sense that I have friends, like, but I wouldn't really go out or do any activities apart from academics. So that was something that was really growing up. And then as I started growing up again, one of my dreams was coming here to the United States. I wanted to study English to come here. In 2013, I came here. And
Yeah.
I went initially, I moved to New York to do an English course. But I knew I needed to, because I wanted to get out of constraint, but I felt like
Yeah.
I needed to leave the environment. So that was one of the ways, kind of like being another culture, being by myself, that really challenged my identity, my reality in ways that I was not even thinking it was going to like to challenge that.
Yeah. Once we step out of our comfort zone, I guess,
Mhm.
then we are able to stretch ourselves and learn that the story that we told ourselves is not as bad as it was. So that's the part that we get a chance to experience. And Jennifer, when you were heading towards college, and what field of study did you pick, and why did you pick that field?
Well, for my whole life, since I can remember, I always say I wanted to study medicine. When it came to the time in high school that we needed to pick our careers and our universities, I kind of like was at a crossroads because I have always dreamed of studying medicine. But at the same time, I knew I didn't like hospitals. I didn't like blood. So I was decided, because in Venezuela, at least, there are very like defined main careers. There are not as many options. At least at that time, I felt like there were not that many options. So I decided to study engineering. I was like, okay, this is good for business, and it's a very broad field. So seriously, that I hated it,
Mhm.
totally hated it. It was I was there for a year in engineering school, and then I decided to change. It was kind of like, I think that was the year where I felt uh, probably the most depressive I
Yeah.
have ever felt. Yeah. And I decided to change, study after business administration with a concentration or minor in marketing.
Yeah. And once you change, and again, when we're doing something that doesn't align with us, depression is one of the things that hits us. And also when there's loss that enters into our life, whether we lose a job or something like that, depression will visit us from time to time as well. So these are some of the programmers, as I said, that are lingering within us, and they're there every day, 24 hours a day, when we're quiet, when we're loud, and they're programming us. And we're not really recognizing that it is a program that we are partaking in, and it will bear fruit as we move on in our life, as all programs do. So here you are, you switched over, you got into your business and all of the different things. When you graduated and you have your degree, because the reason why I'm doing this, Jennifer, is that they tell us that we ought to follow this program. We grow up, we go to college, and then we get our job, we get this and that. And then as we're getting all of these things and we achieve it, there's still no happiness. So after you got your job, your degree, what job did you get to, and how was that once you landed there?
Well, I wanted to comment something, Ken, in the programming that you say. That's so true. I knew from the first week when I entered engineering school that I was not enjoying it. It was not something that fulfilled me.
Yeah,
And I decided to stay for a whole year
yeah,
there because it's just that framework of, oh, you cannot give up or you cannot. And sometimes I think it's easy to say, oh, I need to stay more or to do it like to try
yeah,
it more. But sometimes also like listening to our intuition and knowing when some place is not for us or something is not for us. I knew from the first week. It's not like the whole year. I can probably say that year completely. I didn't enjoy at all because it was definitely not the career, not the university, not the space for me.
Yeah.
And when I changed to business administration, it was like a complete whole other thing, another experience.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, this is what it feels like. This is what it's supposed to feel like. So I think, as you say, those programming. And like, when I graduated, I started first working before graduating in the university in
Mhm.
the student department. So I was
Yeah.
in the post career student department, kind of like doing the student services. Then when I graduated, I worked in a car shop. So it was like a automobile company, but I was in the marketing department as an intern. And then that's when I decided like I wanted to move here. I wanted to study English. I moved initially to New York. And that was definitely like an awakening of so many other things that you can do and that you can be. And
Yeah.
the ways that even that you can add, like my identity, as I say, I was like, oh, this person that doesn't go out and doesn't do
Yeah.
anything. And I think you start challenging those things, like why I am supposed to be like that, why can't I be something else? And you just start taking small actions, like oh, I will just talk with more people, or I will just go out to have lunch or dinner with friends, or I will just go and just go out and meet people and be by myself. I went to the movies by myself. I had
Yeah.
lunch by myself. And all those small things that we don't think about initially, like, oh, that's something that you don't do. You don't go to the movies by yourself. And you start doing those small things and you start to enjoy them. I will take walks, like sometimes on Saturdays, I will take walks like for 3-4 hours
Yeah.
from East Village to Central Park.
Mhm.
And that's why I say it's the actions, the ones that push you and the ones that make you believe in your capabilities. Because I would have never believed, oh, I can take the subway by myself, or I can wall a whole city like down. I think when you start taking those small actions, you start to notice, oh, I'm capable of doing this. So I wonder what else I'm capable of.
Yeah.
And you start building that confidence and that self-belief that you can really do anything that you want. It's just
Yeah.
about starting with the micro steps to get there.
As you began to stretch yourself out, and as you said, these little steps here, and starting and doing taking yourself out, I did that as well, and walks and stuff like that. What did you begin to notice with Jennifer?
I think mostly that I gave myself so little credit
Mhm.
for the things that I could do in my life and the things that I could experience. It was not like one day, like overnight, right? It was not from one day to another. It was something that progressively started happening, and even to this day. But I would say I was very sheltered, right? As
Yeah.
growing up, my thinking was sheltered. My mindset was very sheltered in the sense that I would call it a very fixed mindset of this is who you are, this is what you do. And when you start getting out of your comfort zone, challenging
Mhm.
yourself, you start to notice that really there is no a specific way of doing things
Yeah.
and there is no a specific way of being. And you can always, if you don't like something about you, you can change it. You can change how you behave or how you think about that, how you perceive that. If you don't like something about your life, you can also change it. You can also work in little ways to change it. And I think we stay so stuck in how
Mhm.
things are and how things are supposed to be. We forget that we can always change them. And we can always change ourselves too. I think that, like that mindset of, oh, nothing is fixed. I can't change anything. I can change. It will happen small in small ways, and it will happen micro. But it can happen, and you
Yeah.
can make it. That you can create that change. So I think that was the biggest realization and the
Yeah.
biggest shift that I had. And it was not only while I was living in New York. That was what opened it, like that way of seeing things and that. But then moved to Miami, and kind of like that starts like you start thinking, oh, I did this there, so maybe I could do this here, and
Mhm.
maybe I could try these kind of things. And I started to try more like I would say I was not the athletic one, so I was not
Yeah.
used to doing any like sportive. I started to going to yoga classes and Pilates classes, and then I was like, oh, I like walking, so I will walk. And then when I was comfortable walking, I was like, oh, maybe I should try running just to see how it feels.
Yeah.
And you start opening the door to in those
Yeah.
I think I always say, oh, I will never try, I don't know, eh, things like running a marathon, right?
Hmm.
And then I ran a marathon, and then I don't think CrossFit because all the things with the weights. And then
Yeah.
you go to a CrossFit class, and you were like, oh, this is fun because it's a group and it's a group class, and they thought like everyone is joking. So I think we have so many preconceived notions about what things are and what we are,
Yeah.
and we don't give ourselves the chance to try and to experiment more. And we can see we are often, I say we, that's how we are often so afraid of failure and of
Yeah.
being judged by others that we block ourselves. And when you see failure as an opportunity to grow, as something, oh, I learned from that experience. When you start to frame it that way, when you start to look for failure, that was how some years you can set an intention. So 2 years ago, my intention was to fail more.
Hmm.
And I just wanted to put myself in situations where he felt like I probably would fail, but
Yeah.
that was the whole point, to feel more comfortable failing.
Yeah.
Because I think we are so scared of it. And when we notice it's just it's a growth opportunity, and it's just a part of life and a part of success, really. You see any successful people, you see their background and their journey, you will see they have more failures than success. It's just that they continue trying and looking for different ways of doing things until they find the way that was effective and that was successful. But when you see like everyone like, oh, so many tries before, but the thing is we don't see that. We see the highlight reel, we see the successes, and we
Yeah.
don't see all the things that they had to do to get there, and they had to overcome that mindset of this didn't work, I won't continue. They had to
Yeah.
continue doing it again and again. So I think when you start seeing the possibilities, I think that's the main thing I would like people to get. Like when you start approaching life from a place of possibilities instead of constraints or things that block you or obstacles. When you see every failure, every obstacle, every challenge as an opportunity to grow and as a possibility to maybe I will discover something different. Maybe I will learn something from this experience. Maybe when you start seeing it from that perspective, it opens you so much more to try things and experiment and look to grow because there is always that component of growing
Yeah.
in things that we don't know about yet.
And how did you navigate from marketing to becoming a mindset coach and to assist people with their belief? How did that transition take place?
Well, I studied marketing, a minor concentration of marketing in Venezuela. And
Uh-huh.
then when I moved here, I initially went to New York to do an English course. And then I moved to Miami and I did a master in human resource,
Hmm.
business administration, where it was in human resource. So I really started working after that in a business center. I was like kind of like in the sales and business development department, but I was a lot like kind of like also hiring the people. It was a small like business center where we'll rent office spaces
Yeah.
for other people and kind of like manage the center, right? So that I was in the self department and I was like managing the people there. The thing that started, I didn't know about life coaches or
Yeah.
coaching in general, probably until 2020 during the pandemic. Of course, I went out of my job for a few months. We closed down. For a few months, I was totally, like, well, I think most of us, I didn't have anything to do. I was very, like, lost in that sense.
Yeah.
Like what I'm going to do is, and you don't have the location. So if the center is not open, you don't have a work anymore. It was not like I was looking for another career or anything like that. I just started listening to podcasts. Remember, here in Miami, the lockdown was not as strong. So I remember I would go for walks. There were no any cars around.
Yeah.
The streets were completely alone. I remember I would take long walks. I would listen to podcasts. And I started listening like Tony Robbins, Bobby Bernstein. I started listening to a lot. It was just this yeah, I think it's this shift and this perspective change when
Mm.
you start seeing these people kind of like, oh, they're making a difference in how other people are
Yeah.
feeling and how other people are connecting with people. And kind of like, it was, as I say, I don't think change happened overnight, at least most of the time. I think it's a progression.
Yeah.
But it was something every day I will go for a walk. Probably I like walking.
Yeah.
Probably 3 4 hours I will go out, and there was nothing else to do. So I will go for long walks, and I will listen to 2 3 podcast episodes, right? And it was like this connection to people you don't know, and I really didn't know much about. Probably I have heard about Tony Robbins before, but I really didn't know much about coaching before that. And it's this connection that you develop with people and that they inspire you, right? They inspire you, they motivate you to do things that you have never thought about just by
Yeah.
listening to them. You are not seeing them in a video because at that moment I was just listening. You are not seeing a video or anything. You are just connecting by them, telling you the stories or
Yeah.
talking with someone else. Sometimes it was just a conversation between two persons and you are listening to their conversation and you connect on a deeper level. And I
Yeah.
think that's probably something that you have experienced multiple times before, Ken. And this concept that, oh my God, sometimes talking with people and expressing your feelings and sharing your ideas really creates a big impact, right?
Hmm.
We don't even notice sometimes, but just listening to someone else like talk and opening that space for someone else to kind of like feel like they are not alone, that someone else is encountering the problems and the issues they have, create this deeper connection, this inspiration to feel that you are not so alone and that you if someone else is doing it, if someone else is changing their life or creating, you can also do those things. I think
Yeah.
that's when I started thinking, and as I say, it was not it's like a one day kind of thing. I That was probably the whole 2020 when I started listening to podcasts and to these conversations. And I did my life coaching certification in 2022.
Hmm.
That was when I got like and then like 2022 and 2023 because it was at the end of the 2022
Yeah.
and then until the middle of 2023 was almost a year long life coaching certification. And that's when I started working with people and starting kind of like connecting and see, okay, kind of like what is exactly my message and what I would like to connect people. And there are a lot of different things that have like motivate me in the coaching and wellness space. But definitely I think believing in yourself, creating that self belief in yourself,
Yeah.
knowing that you have more power than often we think, I think that's something that really sparks me because I think so often we are the ones that are blocking ourselves. And it's because we don't believe,
Yeah.
in our dreams, in what we have to give the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first step for me. Like you start believing that you can, start at least challenging the story that you cannot. Start
Hmm.
at least thinking, oh, how could it be this? How could this be possible? How I could make it? And just start asking the question, you start challenging the story that you cannot do something. You will start finding ways that maybe, just that
Yeah.
maybe, not yeah, no, but just that maybe. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I could try this. Maybe I could tell this person this. And just start kind of like with that maybe mentality opens you to start
Yeah.
seeing a lot of things in your life.
And when you started, once you got your foot in, you got your degree and stuff like that, talk to us as to one of your encounters that you had an opportunity to talk with someone, and as a result of them coming before you, you were able to change their perspective. That probably, as you said, that those perspectives usually keep us in bondage, for a lack of a better word, and cause us to create certain stories. Talk to us about one of those encounters that you had with someone where you were afforded the opportunity to assist them to see how the greatness that is within them to get them to change their life.
Yes, actually, it's someone. This was he's a teacher and he was retired of his from his job. The main thing, Steven, was his name, and the main thing that he wanted to work on was kind of like, oh, I'm retired from. It was 26 years of being a teacher, and he was like, I want to see how can I kind of like create this new life after and create this new identity and what to do. And he was he didn't feel like he needed coaching, but
Yeah,
at the same time, he wanted kind of like a roadmap or someone to help him discover what he could do after. I remember when he just wanted basically what to do after retiring, right?
yeah,
He was. And I remember when we started talking about kind of like how his relationships were and how he felt this was going to affect his relationship going forward, his marriage, his relationship with his kids. He was actually, oh, I'm excited. I think this will be good. But he was not expecting anything else. And I started kind of like, oh, what are the things that you do normally with your wife? And he would always say, oh, because we have a very different schedules for all these years. I have always been from 6 a.m. I wake up at 5, I go to school until probably around 3, 4, and 2 hours in the afternoons. We always saw each other only at nights. He was excited, yeah, this is probably going to be a change, and we only have kind of like, we have a big vacation in the year that's the time we take to connect or to.
yeah,
And I started kind of like, oh, what would you like to do now when you have the time that you are going to retire? Because he was kind of like excited. He will say that he was excited, but at the same time, he was very kind of like blocking this next stage, saying about all the how he was going to miss the kids. And I started like just think ahead, like what are the possibilities in this sense? What are the activities that you would like to start doing now
yeah,
that you are going to retire? What are the things that you could start experiencing and the things? And he just started the first thing I remember is that he say, oh, I want to take bike rides with my wife in the mornings because she doesn't work in the mornings. He
yeah,
didn't work. So he will say, "Oh, I want to take bike rides with my wife in the mornings," and then he will say, "Oh, I want to cook dinner together." So because I'm going to be in the like she's going to arrive after me, like we start cooking dinners together, and then he will say, "Oh, we could do day nights even during the weekdays." It was just these small things, and then I was like, "How can you create more fun even?" Like in your life because he was kind of like very focused on his schedule. How can you create? I just ask, how can you create more fun in your life? How can you schedule more fun in your life? It was. I don't think he had ever thought about this, but he was like schedule fun,
yeah,
right? Just that concept of okay, we could do day nights and schedule ahead of time, not just when a day opens up. I will start scheduling the bike rides and I will start planning ahead for. I think that small concept of I am capable of creating my own entertainment, my own fun, because we think this is only for the serious things,
yeah,
right? I think we often think, oh, fulfillment is your career,
yeah,
is to have a relationship, like a romantic relationship, and maybe fun. And we often don't think about, and I believe in this part a lot. I think we need to look for fun. I think we
yeah,
need to plan ahead for fun. We need to remind ourselves that we are not only here to work, or to, to serve, or we are here also to enjoy life and to, because I think everyone is a better person when they are having fun and when they are kind of like enjoying themselves. And you are kinder, usually you are kinder and more open when you are having fun. So this was a small shift. I think that gave him a lot of like after that, like the few couple sessions after that, he was always very excited just to tell me about the different activities and the different plans that he was doing, and he was planning for ahead, and it was always like. And then when he finally retired, I think that he noticed that his life was no ending, right? He was thinking of doing a lot of different like courses and certifications that he wanted to study, but that component of having fun was not something it was something that he took with him. It was something like, oh, what can I do to have fun this week? What can I do to have fun? And I think even at that, like at that age, you are going through retirement. How can I make this next stage of my life fun? How can I enjoy the time that I will have in my hands, because I work all this time, I will have more time. How can I enjoy it more? And I always think, no matter in what stage you are, if we can take advantage of the time that we have, nobody knows exactly how much time we have left, right? And if we can make sure to at least do something that is for us, for our enjoyment every week, I think that really creates a life that is worth living, I think.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Hey, all of you guys that are listening to us, my conversation with Jennifer, we're going to provide all of her links so that you guys can get to her. And I love the fact that she, told that story about us having fun, because a lot of us don't, because we are so caught up in working and doing the things that we quote unquote supposed to do. But we miss a lot of life because we don't interject some changes in it, and simple changes as she talks about to help you. And we're going to provide all those links so that she can help you guys about your mindset, making adjustments and so forth, and your belief system and all of those things. And so that you can have this new life, as she talked about this gentleman in his quote unquote retirement days, if you will. And if I want to thank you so much for coming to Threads of Enlightenment, I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Ken. I really enjoy our conversation together, and hopefully we will meet again.
Oh, definitely. I think so. Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Thanks for tuning in to Threads of Enlightenment with Ken Primus. Hopefully you're now feeling more empowered to overcome the challenges in your life, whatever they may be. Share that inspiration with others by telling them about this podcast, rating it, and of course, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. For more connection, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Threads of Enlightenment. Until next time, stay enlightened.